Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We're starting a new budget Kindred series. We're looking at budget Merfolk. And the first video here, Merfolk for every deck. So what is this series about? We are taking an in-depth look at budget options for different creature types or Kindred. So basically, if you want to find a particular type of Kindred to focus your deck on, these will be great for that. This is the first video of the Merfolk series where we look at Merfolk that can fit in any deck, the most flexible cards. So these cards really don't need to be with other Merfolk. A lot of them are very focused on typal or focused on a strategy. These kind of, if you throw them into any deck, they will help out. Alright, what are we covering? I am covering what I'm calling the exemplars. These are creature types that have a high affinity with a particular color. So each color, I feel like, has its own kind of like focus of creature, and I'm looking at those creatures first. Or not first, I guess I'm well into it now, but anyway, that's what we're doing. Alright, we have already covered rats for black and goblins for red. So again, this little chart here shows you black, I said, is rats. Red is goblin. Green, very elf. I think that's the easiest one, is elf. Blue, merfolk, and white, leonin. I actually couldn't think of that myself. One of my commenters helped me out with that. I'm spacing on the name already. I think it was NNNNTTT or something like that, but yeah. Very helpful, thank you. What about merfolk? Alright, the main color, once again, is blue, right? Their strategies are counters, card draw, bounce, tap and untap, okay? By counters, I mean like +1/+1 counters and things like that. Not counters as in counter spells, which they also do, but yeah. I'm referring to counters, like, yeah, that you put on them. Anyway, this is the first video on the Merfolk series. We are looking at Merfolk that can benefit any deck. Once again, this is like the general usage video, and then I get more specific as we go along. I can't talk sometimes. And as always, what do I mean by budget is $2 or less on the TCG market value, not a sponsor. Honorable mentions. Okay, so here we got some good ones. Root Water Shaman is one I hadn't seen before. You may play creature enchantments whenever you could play an instant. So again, if you have a lot of creature enchantments in your deck, basically you give them flash, right? So in the right deck, this could really do a lot of work. Yeah. I actually, what was, I'm already forgetting the name of the deck I built, or the commander, but anyway. Any commanders that care a lot about enchantments or creature enchantments, I think this would mean auras now, would really get a lot of value out of this. And Galactos, Crafter of Wonders, you can add 2 colorless, spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. Equipped creatures you control have flying and haste. I really want to actually build one of my budget decks. I think I'd like to build with this guy, because that's a really huge benefit, right? To any kind of equipment deck, giving equipped creatures flying and haste. Like, oh boy, that does a lot of work. Anyway, Sea Singer, if you control no islands by Sea Singer, you may choose not to untap Sea Singer during your untap phase. Gain control of target creature whose controller controls any number of islands as long as you control Sea Singer, and Sea Singer remains tapped. Again, so basically, anyone else who has islands, you can steal their creature just by tapping this, and you can choose to keep it tapped and keep the creature, or untap it and steal another creature. Really, really useful one. The island limitation is the major thing. Islands are pretty common, especially if you're looking for something for a commander. Not a whole lot of commander games I've played without any islands in it, right? I think it's probably the most common land type. Anywho. Alright, first up, Emery, Lurker of the Lock. I know this is a very well-known one. Please remember I put the most well-known in the number 5 slot because it is the most well-known. Alright. Emery of the Lurker of the Lock. Costs less with an artifact. Again, it costs 1 less if you control an artifact. It's only 2 in a blue, so it's 1 in a blue with any artifact. Pretty amazing, actually. Allows you to cast... Again, you tap this, you choose 1 artifact in your graveyard, and you cast that from your graveyard. Every turn, you can cast 1 artifact back out of your graveyard. That is really good, right? That does include artifact creatures, obviously, so you can get your creature back out. And if you're just, like, if someone used, like, let's say, some kind of mass removal on artifacts, that can be a big problem for some decks, and she will help you kind of even that out. Anyway, 70 cents. The downside is that you do have to mill when she enters the battlefield. Also,
strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
Harbinger of Tides. Okay, thanks to Mr. Webb for recommending this one. You may have Harbinger of Tides, or you may cast Harbinger of Tides as though it had flashed if you pay 2 extra. So again, this costs 2 blue. For a 2/2 creature, that's not bad, but for 2 extra, you can cast it with Flash, which is very important because of the second ability. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target tapped creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. Again, if you're being attacked, especially if you're being attacked by a big creature, just cast this, send it back to their hand. It's kind of a delay tactic. It's not really like removal, but it'll get the job done, right? Anyway, 23 cents for that one. Tempest Caller. Next up, this is one of my favorite ones. For 2 and 2 blue, when Tempest Caller enters the battlefield, tap all creature target opponent controls. So you just tap down someone's whole board when this comes in. Very, very useful in many ways. They cannot block, they cannot use activated abilities, right? You're just tapping them down and it's like, gives you all kinds of options, really. For one thing, yeah, it offers a finisher, right? Also, if you want to like make someone else a better target for attack, tap them down, and then they have to wait until their next untap phase. If it's the person like that just finished their turn, they're gonna have 2 other people going, right? Again, I'm always thinking Commander. In Commander, 1v1, this wouldn't be as useful in this way. 1v1 is great though because it just lets you go in and smack them, right? And also, yeah, great with flicker, right? If you can flicker this or blink this, then you can just keep doing it over and over, which blue is really good at in general. I should have thought of this for a deck recently, actually. 33 cents. Sage of the Falls. Okay, so whenever Sage of the Falls or another non-human creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Okay, so it is 4 and a blue, so it's not cheap, but for a 2/5, that's not great. But the ability, every time a creature enters the battlefield, not you cast a creature, even if you're making tokens, you're going to be able to draw and discard, draw and discard. This is just so much draw and discard. Yeah. You can really easily take advantage of this. I think almost any deck can take advantage of this, and ones that like make a lot of tokens or something would be able to just like get a huge amount of value there. Anyway, 11 cents. Vodalian Illusionist. Again, for 2 and a blue, he's a 2/2, which is okay. For 2 blue, you can tap him and target creature phases out. This is incredible in Commander. In Commander, your commander is going to be like #1 target all the time. You can just remove him. Basically, you treat him like he's not on the board, or treat your commander like they're not on the board. Just until the beginning of your upkeep, they just come back. So the downside is that you don't have access to your commander either. If there's some kind of shenanigans you want your commander doing, this is not a good card to have. If you just want to keep your commander safe when it's not your turn, end of your turn, you can just like do this and phase them out, and they stay phased out until your turn comes back around again. So you can just permanently protect your commander for 2 mana per turn. It also works very nice as kind of like a pseudo counter spell. If someone uses targeted removal or board wipe, do this, your commander's safe again, right? So it doesn't actually counter the spell, but like the effect. If they're doing like, Doomblade on your commander or something, you use this on your commander, that happens first. It enters the stack above Doomblade, so Doomblade it no longer has a normal or a legal target, and it's gone. Anyway, yeah, very, very useful. Phasing out is underutilized for sure. Kind of not popular anymore, I think. Anywho, 26 cents. Oh, please hit like and subscribe. It's really helpful. The List. Emery, Lurker of the Loch, 70 cents. Harbinger of the Tides is 23 cents. Tempest Color is 33 cents. Sage of the Falls is 11 cents. Actually going down. And Vodalian Illusionist is 26 cents. I'm going to start putting a Vodalian Illusionist in a lot of decks, I think. That might be one of my kind of signature cards. But anyway, take it easy.